Coming to you live from the jungles of Alaska, in color, it's once again time for the Friday installment of the Gratu Orloff Show. When the night falls, as the shadows become deep and black, the silent pall of evil settles upon the earth. Who dares to search? Who dares to see what walks in the night? If you dare, welcome to my nightmare of comic book collecting and organizing. Let's get back to it. It's probably July 15th. It's probably 2022. But that could be just a mass delusion. It might be 1973, or it could be... there's no way of telling what year it really is. So, let's get back to it now. I've been criticized. I've been defamed. My wife told me that I'm not showing comic books long enough. I do like this, you know. She says it's not a striptease show. I'm supposed to show the books. That's why people are here. So I need to linger longer on each comic. I'm just trying to get this done. I was telling her, well, I have to reach way over to show the comic because I have the camera so far away. So I move the camera up closer into my grill, as the youngsters say, so you can see the comics a little bit better. Like this is Marvel, and it's a John Carter, The Gods of Mars. Gods of Mars was, of course, the second in the John Carter Barsoom series, and Marvel did, in the late 70s, they were doing a John Carter adaptation, and apparently this is Marvel today doing it, or I don't know when this was made. Sometime very recent. They're a little bit anorexic looking, but that's all right. From Sirius Publications, not anorexic looking is Dawn. This is Tony Orlando, and that's Dawn. Am I being slow enough? I need to pretend to be President Joe Biden. Move slow, man. It's not hyperbole, and it's not, what does he say? It's not hyperbole. What's the other fucking thing he says? Oh, he's got a lot of wonderful catchphrases. Here's more fake comics from Image. I call them fake because they're not Marvel or DC. I'm just kidding. It's called The Darkness, number 11. Oh, that's a great cover. That's Greg and Tim Hildebrandt. You might know them for their Lord of the Rings art, calendar art, or you might know them for the wonderful original Star Wars poster. Okay, so these go over with the independent stuff. Here's another one of those 90s titty comics called Glory number 6. We'll move slow. Yeah, I call them titty comics. This is a 1990s titty comic, and it is T and A. There's the A. Sometimes they're a little amateurish, like look how they put, where is that? Look how they put the words in that blue balloon. It makes it very hard to read. Oh well. Someday they'll learn. So this sums up the 1990s completely. Glory. Okay. Loved by millions. Apparently millions of mice or something loved this comic. It's another exciting installment of Sad Sack. So what's happening to... Oh, sad sack of shit. Our hero here is not wanting to get hit on the head with bottles in this wild bar, so he puts the stool over his head. All right, smart thinking there. It's wow, what? This is comical. I think I got this in a 50-cent bin or a dollar bin. The Avenger is a great character, you know, from the creator of Doc Savage, you know, but apparently they were trying to sell this for $7.99 from Dynamite, and that's the price that they actually had under the UPC code too. And only problem is the Avenger doesn't look very heroic there. He's kind of running away instead of running towards the explosion to save people. He's running away, and he looks a little rat-like. But inside the book, he's drawn. It looks like they hired 7th graders to draw this book. Okay, he looks a little more heroic inside the book, but this is certainly not good artwork, or it doesn't meet the high standards of the Gratu Orloff archives. No, I love the Avenger. It just, what were they thinking? It's another adventure of the Master of Kung Fu, issue 118. How about that? Okay, I filed this under M, not S for Shang. So, all right, I'll put that there. Put that there. I don't have time to file them right now. I'll file them after the show concludes. It's wow, it's got a free poster inside. It's issue number 1 of Robin. Now they printed about 500 million copies of this issue, you know. So I don't think it has any value. It's got a really cool cover. It looks like a British artist. Anyway, you can just tell British art because it looks a little bit different from American art, and it's a really beautiful cover. But it's not the real Robin. It's not Dick Grayson. So, bootleg Robin. Wonder Woman 29. She's having a really horrible dream, I would think. Yeah. Oh, there's an evil villain hidden behind all those pizza toppings there. Sure is. Pretty evil. Okay. Here's issue 43 of The Spectre. Looks like artwork that John Podesta would have on his wall. Here is my Kaluta art. The Spectre number 2. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I don't mind this artwork, but I prefer this artwork just because I'm old-fashioned, you know. They revived the Spectre several times. This is one of the times. The Spectre is 62, and this is the final issue. Can you see it? Look it. God, I hate assholes that say look it. Hey, look it. It's Wrath of the Spectre. And I think I've shown you this already 4 or 5 times, which means I must have 4 or 5 copies of this issue, reprinting the early 70s stuff from Adventure, or as they briefly retitled it, Weird Adventure. So that's cool. That means I can sell a few copies and keep one, whichever one's in the best condition I'll keep for myself, because that's how you do it. But I think they're all in the same condition. Sometimes just 50-cent dollar bins, you wind up accumulating massive quantities of the same issue. Secret Origins number 7 with Green Lantern and Sandman. these Secret Origins comics. Oh God, I hated that Green Lantern. Of course, I never read any comics with this guy. This is, the real Green Lantern to me. But this guy with the red hair and the stupid hairstyle, I just couldn't even stand that. But this has Roy Thomas doing the Sandman origin. Maybe he's cool. You can tell me down below how wrong I am. I probably am wrong. It just visually, it's an ugly look. And here's Secret Origins number 8 with Shadowlass and Dollman. Again, each one of these had a Golden Age character. In this case, Dollman, that Roy Thomas did the origin of. Okay, can you see it well enough? All right. The Spectre number 1. How about that? Silver Sable number 25. Superman 334. You ever heard of the band The Residents? I saw them live once. They wore eye helmets. It's the official Marvel Index to Marvel Team Up. Sure is. I'm going to get rid of this nasty bag. And so this is Spider-Man needs to visit Taco Bell real bad, man, because he's getting a little bit emaciated. We discovered a couple of people on YouTube last night that apparently are YouTube sensations. We never heard of them. One was this girl that looked like she had just walked out of Auschwitz, and apparently it's some big fetish for gothic-looking skeleton women. I mean, she's has anorexia, and she's got millions of people, simping for her, and I forget her name. And then we found this guy that lives like in Transylvania. He was a kickboxing champion in England. I think he's from the United States. He's bald, and he lives in some castle with all these women, like he's Flint, an Armand Flint. And I think all these women have OnlyFans accounts, and he takes most of their money. So he thinks he's this mastermind and genius, and he has some school where you can learn how to make money and be confident and win women over. And you have to send him $40-something, and then he'll start giving you lessons from his school in Transylvania or something. I don't know. But we saw this guy. Apparently, he's been on Big Brother over in England, and he's his compound has been raided by the police because they think he's doing weird stuff. But he's a big thing on YouTube, and I never heard of him either. Don't remember his name. This has got a wraparound cover. How about that? From What Is the Artist? I can't. Hold on a second. So it's Friday, and my wife wasn't feeling well enough to go to the rodeo last night. Oh, and we cleaned up the blood. That probably sounds horrible to those of you that didn't see the last episode, but last episode my dog Drew came up here and was visiting me, and then I went over there to pick up some comics, and I saw drops of blood on the floor. And I don't know what she was chewing on, but she briefly had some blood coming out of her mouth. And these are hardwood floors from like 1918. And I was thinking, how do I get the blood out of what I'm trying to do here? There's a slight little fold there I'm trying to straighten out. I was like, how do I get blood out? And then I thought, well, yesterday when I was filming this episode, my wife was asleep and I didn't want to wake her up. But I remember she said hydrogen peroxide. So I went down, I got that. And I started cleaning the blood off the hardwood, and then I looked at it, and the blood seemed to expand. And then all of a sudden, there were these little drops of blood, and all of a sudden, it's this big. And I thought, what did I do? as I was joking, it's like I'm in an Edgar Allan Poe short story. It's like I try to clean up the blood, but it gets bigger. So. But then I came back 15 minutes later when it dried and it was all gone. So apparently it must, it's some magical property of hydrogen peroxide. So for those of you out there that are serial killers, that's a tip on how to get blood off of floors. Yeah. You little son of a cocksucking son of a bitch. This has been folded over for probably a generation, sitting in a 50-cent bin. And I'm giving up at this point. But anyway, isn't it amazing? And inside it has all the information about every exciting issue of Marvel Team Up, and this is issue 3, so it covers a certain number of issues. How about that? All right. And here's an example of one of those issues. It's Marvel Team Up number 104 with Kazar. And the Hulk. You know, Kazar, maybe, you know, you think, what are the original first Marvel superheroes? And you go back to Marvel Comics number 1 in 1939, and it had the Human Torch, the original Human Torch, and the Submariner. But I think Kazar might be the oldest because he was in pulp magazines put out by Timely, I think in the 30s. And of course, you know, he's, gosh, what's he an imitation of? Gosh, it's hard to imagine. But yeah, he's an imitation of Tarzan, but it's cool because he's got a saber-toothed tiger, and he's got blonde hair instead of dark hair, so he's very different. But anyway, and he lived in the hidden land where they had dinosaurs, you know. And, you know, kids love dinosaurs, all real kids. All real kids love dinosaurs. I wouldn't trust a stupid bastard that didn't love dinosaurs. Show me a third grader that doesn't love dinosaurs, and they could never compete against Hitler's hordes. Here's another copy of the same fantastic issue. So one of those will be up for auction or in my potential future comic store. Who knows what will happen in the future? Marvel Team Up, that was 104. Here's 106. Who is Spider-Man going to team up with this month? Why, it's Captain America. I kind of like the colors on this cover, the way the lights are coming from that building. It just gives you a feeling of fog. Nice cover. From what artist? I don't know. Of course, it's spoiled by that UPC code, which. So here's Spider-Man teaming up with Jeffrey, the magical giraffe from Toys R Us. Toys R Us. The world's biggest toy store is Toys R Us. The greatest selection. Toys R Us didn't come around, at least not in Grotuville, Texas, until shit. I was probably 15, 16 when that came along. So that was not the toy store that I remember from my youth. Maybe it was in other parts of the country, but by the time I got to Texas, I was pretty much a grown Grotu. The toy store I remember the most from when I was a small kid in San Antonio was called Kitty City. And Kitty City was bought up by Lionel, the train. This page had some horrible damage done to it. I see my friend Jim Conrad is calling. He's appeared on this episode, on this show in the past. And yeah, this book is highly fucked up, this page. Yeah, man. What did they do to this page? Anyway, I think I've got more than one copy of this, so I'm not devastated, but it sucks. Anyway, so I'll call him back when I end this episode. Yeah, I called him last night, and then he said he'd call me mid-morning, and it is now a little. It's almost 10 in the morning, so it is mid-morning. So sorry, I'll get back to him. Oh, here's Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, but it's a Whitman variant. See there, which means that it was sold in 3-packs in plastic, in case they were in plastic, and they had a little flap that and a little hole, so they would hang on a rack, and they'd have them in toy stores or wherever. They didn't really sell comics as much, and you would get 3 comics for like 79 cents. So this came in one of those packs, and there are people that will pay a premium for a Whitman, what they call a Whitman variant. Overstreet Price Guide used to say these were reprints, but they really weren't. They were actually first pressings. Okay, so now they're valuable, but they used to tell us they weren't. How about that? Here's Marvel Team Up featuring Spider-Man and King Cole. And this is issue number 112. And they're touting at the top that beginning September 12th on NBC, Spider-Man and his amazing friends, who were Iceman and Firestar. Now, I guess there's a bit of time travel happening here. Yeah. This is Spider-Man and the Falcon. Number 114. This came from Lone Star Comics quarter bin. They would stamp on the inside of the comic. So at some point this was considered valueless. It still, I don't think, has a great deal of value. All right. Spider-Man and Valkyrie. There's the Thing as Santa Claus. I don't really picture the Thing giving a peace sign too much. That's not doesn't really seem to be in his character. This is the Valkyrie. Okay, I think this book has a little bit more value because it has Wolverine in it. And look, you can get a free Lone Ranger Western Town. How about that? Yeah. Just flipping through, looking for entertainment. Okay. Yeah, what is this thing worth? Every time I look at this book, well, depending on, like, see, this is cut a little bit differently. Well, first of all, this is a newsstand edition, and this is an edition from a comic book store. So that's how they're different down below. But see, this is trimmed a little bit too high up. But see, this one, when I look at it, I think there's a tear there, but then I realize, oh, that's part of the spider web. Every time I look at this book, I got 3 copies. If you need that issue, let me know, because I've got 3 copies of it. And this one felt thicker, so I thought it was a Mark Jewelers variant, but it isn't. It is not. There's some rumor online that I saw last night. I don't know if it's true. What was the actor that played the guy that ran Pollo Loco in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. The I guess he's supposed to be Cuban, maybe he's African American actor or Hispanic actor, and the guy that an explosion killed him and it like blew off half his face to the skeleton, to the skull. I forget what the character's name is, and I don't really know if I know the name of the actor, but there's a rumor that he's going to be Professor X as Marvel starts to think about casting their X-Men. I don't know. It makes complete sense. I mean, you shave his head, he can be Professor X. Doesn't matter if he, oh well. I mean, he's mysterious looking, so he's got a, oh well. It sounds like something Marvel Cinematic Universe would do. There's apparently a Marvel store at Disney World, and they don't have any comics in it or anything that looks like the way the characters used to look. It's just all based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and has tons of stuff based on that Captain Marvel character, apparently. I heard someone ranting about that on YouTube this morning. How about that? Here's Spider-Man and the Scarlet Witch. What year is this from? Yes. There's the Scarlet Witch. How do you come back from what they did to her in the last movie, where they just have her kill like so many people? I mean, you've pretty much destroyed the character. There's no way you can ever really redeem her. You can't just say I'm sorry. So it's another character from a legacy character that they've just destroyed, so they can bring in their new woke characters. I mean. I can understand. Okay, the character turns bad for one movie. She started as a villain. Okay, I can accept that. But having her be a mass murderer, I mean, it's just. Why did you do that to her? The actress was very charming and was good in the role. It's just like, are you gonna just destroy everything? Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk is no longer really the Hulk. He's half Hulk. He's Professor Hulk. You got a. What else have they destroyed? They got rid of Black Widow, the Vision, another comic that came from the historic quarter bins at Lone Star Comics. Oh well. The movies were so good for a good 10 years that it's just hard to accept that they're now just shit. You just keep hoping. I never really thought of myself as the eternal optimist, because I think I'm a pessimist, but I don't know. All right, Spider-Man and Black Widow. I was just thinking about Kubert this morning. Someone was showing up. They were in Allentown, Pennsylvania, at a mall that's pretty much dead. Almost every store is closed up. But someone opened a 1980s style arcade in the mall, and they even have a replica of the Lost in Space robot in there. But they had several different versions of Kubert there, and. That's why I was thinking of Kubert. It wasn't just some random thought. Okay. All right. What is this shit? Oh, man, there's so much I gotta file. I don't have time to F around here. What in the name of gosh? It's a Vertigo version of the Unknown Soldier. A very different Unknown Soldier than I remember from my childhood. Very artsy looking. Here's supervillain team up number 11. And they still had Foom magazine coming out at this point. This is in the 30-cent time period, which makes it probably, 1977. Not in the best condition, but all right, this is some variant edition of Fantastic Four 570. But that looks like Reed Richards, that actor that everyone's clamoring to have him, that they used, that they killed after like 1 minute in the Doctor Strange movie, does not look like this. This looks like, there's got to be someone in Hollywood that looks like that they could hire. Here's Silver Surfer number 66. From a time period I don't like, but anyway, it's still the comic exists, and it's here. So what can I say? Oh, here's a Thor comic in a bag I want to dispose of. It's a hideous bag. 423. Still, this is a pretty good time period for the Thor comic because Ron Frenz and Joe Sennett really kind of do a good job of recreating that time period of the 60s. These bags are grotesque. Yee. How the fuck? I don't even know how to open. Oh, there we go. Yeah. It's who is Nobilis 422. It's number 421. Yeah, 421. Here's 420. What do we got here? What is this shit? Okay, it's a Fantastic Four comic. I do not like the way they've drawn Khazar. This looks a little too, ugh. Fuck. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who painted that, but I guess Shanna looks okay. That's, this Khazar was a Tarzan knockoff, and his girlfriend or wife was a Sheena knockoff, and her name was even real close to Sheena. It was Shanna. Here's a Bill Ray cover on The Question number 26. How about that? Okay, here's Marvel's adaptation of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark about a month before it came out. They used to have preview showings. And my mom and I went to a preview showing of a new movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I remember just loving it. But as we were on the way home, because it's before I was able to drive, I said, that movie's so great, but it's going to bomb because people just aren't going to appreciate that. They're not going to understand this movie. They're not going to appreciate it. Because I had a very low opinion of Mankind. I was so surprised when it became a big hit. There was another movie, Gremlins, that I saw long before it came out. And what you'd usually do is you'd fill out a little survey when you left the theater. You know, what did you think? What's your favorite part? Did you like this or that, whatever? And then based on what you say, they may go back to the editing studio and alter the movie. Because if everybody doesn't like a certain thing, or if everybody likes a certain thing in the movie, and then they might add more of that to the movie that they shot but had cut out to make it more popular. They're just trying to fine tune it. So when my friend Ryan and I went to see Gremlins, we laughed so hard, especially at a scene where the Gremlins took over a bar. It was so funny. And then when it came out in the summer of, that might have been right before the summer of '84, I think. I could be wrong, somewhere in there. When it actually came out in theaters, I went back to see it, and it wasn't as funny because they had tinkered with that bar scene. And so I remember one of the Gremlins did something malicious to somebody or to one of the other Gremlins because they were all drunk. And it was hysterically funny the way they edited it. It was originally edited, but because people thought it was funny, they let it linger after the funny thing. I don't really remember what it was. If I watched Gremlins, I'd probably be able to. Anyway, I'd be able to pinpoint what it was. But anyway, they kept lingering. They just kept the camera there, like giving you time to laugh or something. And it's like it felt like, oh, it's not funny anymore. It was funnier when you cut it more quickly. So a lot of things, editing is so important, and you can hurt a movie with editing, or you can save it. Like the original Star Wars, they say originally it was a disaster, and then George Lucas's wife went in and edited the movie and made it fantastic. It changed the whole pace of it. Yeah. So and then my friend Tom and I went over to Fort Worth to see a preview of a new movie from Clive Barker. We'd heard about Clive Barker and his books of blood. I'd seen them, and I think I picked up one of them. And this is in the '80s, right? So mid '80s. So we went to see it. He's made a movie, so we went to see it, and it was a preview. It was a good 2 months before the movie. It was Hellraiser, before Hellraiser came out, and we just hated it. It was an attempt to be. It's like what Rob Zombie tries to make his movies look like movies he loved as a kid or as a young. He's trying to. You know what he's doing. But he doesn't do it well. Quentin Tarantino does the same thing. He imitates movies he's loved. He does it better. But Rob Zombie's terrible. Anyway, when we left, it was like, so they had us fill out these little cards, right, about what we thought of the movie. And my friend Tom was just brutal. He wrote, "Give it up, Clive. Just, give up." And as we left the theater, there was a guy in the lobby taking the cards and like looking at them immediately, pretty much, because you could tell, usually it's just someone that doesn't really care. It's like, okay, taking the cards. This one couldn't wait to see what people are saying. And I later came to realize that was Clive Barker in person there. It was probably like the first preview showing, and they went to Fort Worth, Texas to do it. And my friend just wrote, "Give it up, Clive." And then a couple of years later, my friend goes off to Hollywood and works in the special effects industry and winds up working on several Clive Barker movies and becomes a good friend of Clive Barker. But I don't think he ever told Clive Barker, "Hey, I was that asshole that wrote 'Give it up, Clive," and probably demolished him back anyway. those weird ways that life works, right? Yeah. But that wasn't really my kind of. I'm not really into torture movies. X-Force. I think we saw this the other day, so that means I must have another copy of it. Here's Star Trek 4 wearing their, I don't know why they colored their outfit, their uniforms yellow. Maybe so they can pee in their pants and no one can tell. But anyway, it's, I didn't like, they should have kept the uniforms from the original. And then in every movie, they changed the uniforms. And in every TV show afterwards, the uniforms would change. In reality, the military doesn't change their uniforms that often. But of course, they're not really supposed to be the military, right? Gene Roddenberry was so opposed to having any. If it wasn't for the network interfering, Star Trek would not have been the hit. It wasn't even a hit, actually. It wouldn't have lasted even a year because he didn't want violence. He wanted everything to be, kind of like it was in his, Sometimes it takes a village to make a good show, and the network interference, we need more fight scenes, that kind of thing, actually helps Star Trek. Okay, here's another Star Trek. Why is it a yellow outfit, man? Star Trek 8 from Marvel. Then DC, it was Gold Key had the Star Trek rights, and then Marvel, about the time that the Star Trek the motion picture came out in '79, and then later DC had the rights to Star Trek. Here's one of the attempts to revive the Shadow from DC. Oh, here's some of those strange. I was telling you about how DC bought the rights to, or acquired the rights to the Hanna-Barbera characters, and this is their Birdman comic. I file all these Hanna-Barbera adaptations from DC under H for Hanna-Barbera. Here they have the Johnny Quest characters teaming up with Adam Strange, a DC character. Here, and they tended to, the ones that were more, Johnny Quest and Birdman were drawn to look more in a more serious way, as opposed to Frankenstein Jr. Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles and the Flintstones were cartoony looking characters, so they tended to make the cartoony characters look more like serious characters. So here's the Impossibles, but they're drawn more like real people. It was an experiment that didn't last long, but here's Future Quest number 6. I think most people remember the Scooby-Doo comic book that came out of that experiment the most. Here's Frank Frazetta. It's the Masterworks series of great comic book artists, reprinting the Shining Knight stories. There's got to be something good in this box. Yeah, another horrible. This is like the second time they reprinted the Origin of Silver Sable, I believe, in this issue of Marvel Tales. I had a cupcake for breakfast. That was not very nourishing, and now I am starting to get hungry. I hunger. What was that game called where that head, that weird evil head, floated around the video game screen? I hunger. Oh, Sinistar. I am Sinistar. I hunger. Here's this. This was only distributed in Dallas, in the Dallas Times-Herald. newspaper. It was Spider-Man, Christmas in Dallas, fighting the Kingpin, and it was in. I don't know if this is common in Texas. You can find this everywhere in dollar bins. Maybe in other parts of the country, it's hard to find this. There were several. That RCA video disc. There was the laser disc, and then this one, the RCA one, actually had a stylus that touched the record, so it wasn't a laser. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think these. There was another one that had the cheerleaders on it. They did it several times. I don't know why they chose Dallas to do it. Anyway, I was just looking at one of these and about to put it in the Christmas box, and now I'm finding two more. So if these are hard to find, another part, here's here's an ad for the Redbird Mall. That was a crime-ridden place. That was over in it was in Duncanville, I believe. Duncanville, a suburb of Dallas, but it's right by Oak Cliff, and it's very sketchy there. Oh, here's an ad for Lone Star promoting G.I. Joe. And those were the locations at the time. They had this time they had 4 locations. The one in Arlington on East Abram was the original store. Look at this. Ho, 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 kids. Yeah, I don't know. Look at this ad for RCA, and then the same ad down here for Boot Town is the same Spider-Man deal. Ad for Chuck E. Cheese's. Man, I got in my pocket. I got to get these out of my pocket before I lose them. I don't know how they wound up in my pocket. There's 2. Here they are. Here's 2 CC's Pizza. These are game tokens. I wonder, there's got to be people out there who collect game tokens from 80s arcades. Has to be. Here's Wonder Woman number 9. These I hated these TSR type games. I was never into role-playing games. I preferred things like Risk and Stratego, and I had friends that were into that. Yeah, when a friend gets into Dungeons and Dragons, then they just kind of like disappear into their little world, and I don't know. I guess it's all wonderful. The wonderful world of the 80s. I've got a bunch of copies of this because I think they were just given away free at Radio Shack. So when I went in, I would grab one. And Radio Shack was, of course, based out of Fort Worth, which is right next to where I used to live. The Science Fair Story of Electronics. How about that? Here's this company actually put out a lot of good stuff. This is Cosmic Clitty, and it's Gray Morrow art, and I assume inside it's gonna be pretty dirty stuff. Well, it's Gray Morrow art. It's not. Well, no, yeah.
I'm not just another pretty face.
Yeah, well, she takes her top off, but it's not. Well, it's not as extreme as I thought it would be, but it's Gray Morrow art. Gray Morrow's great. Well, as soon as I finish this, I'll try to call my friend back, and then I got to get on a plane and go to Arizona to, because Donald Trump wanted me to speak before his rally. He's got a rally tomorrow, and he wants me to be one of the guest speakers. I think it was going to be Mike Lindell, and then his son was going to speak, and I think I was supposed to go on third, and then someone that's running for some office in Arizona was going on after me. I believe that's how it is. But you'll see me tomorrow if you tune in. Right Side Broadcasting. There's Wolverine. I wasn't sure if he was going to cancel the rally because his ex-wife passed away, because he's got 3 kids with her, and I didn't know what. But I think as far as I know, I'll call before I get on the plane. The plane's already gassed up, ready to go in the back here. But I'll call and make sure before I get on the plane that the rally is still a go. And I'll keep you posted on here too. This is a dirty Wolverine comic because it says Max. So let's see what's dirty in here. The name of shit. Well, it looks like he's like punching through people. Okay, what's gonna happen in this Wolverine comic that makes it adult? Oh, I got Wolverine in bed with a girl. Way to go, Marvel. It's got explicit content. Fuck Marvel. Doing that shit. I was talking about this magazine the other night. Pure Images. It's really good. It's comic book sized, but it's not really a comic book. It's got it's got some comic stories in it, but it's got like the history of Spider-Man and original cover for Amazing Fantasy 15, and then it does have some comic stories like done by Greg Theakston, who ran this company. So he gave him a chance to put some of his own stories in here, but mainly it's just kind of like alter ego or comic book creator. It's printed on really nice paper. It's got like original covers that weren't used. Sketch original pencils for a story called Silver Spider. It's and I'm not sure if I have the whole set. If I don't, I need to get it probably from mycomicshop.com, but then showing this will make it impossible because people will order it. This is issue 2. And there's some other ones that are not here, so they must be in another box. What's this? Because I know there's a Ren and Stimpy issue. This shows Fantastic Four, original Fantastic Four art. There's a monster issue there. Yeah, I've got that somewhere. But anyway, this is still covering the monster stuff. Yeah, it covers all the stuff that I love. This is the only known photo of Simon and Kirby taken during their days working at Timely, and they're visiting Coney Island with their wives or girlfriends. Probably wives. Yeah. All right, so these are Precious Comics, Pure Images from Pure Imagination Studios. Greg Theakston was, I think he passed away. He was a big comic book preservationist, and I was talking about him the other night on the Four Color Fossils show that he, in order to reprint old comics where you don't have the original art, now they just photograph the pages right out of old comics and clean them up digitally. But before they had that capability, they needed a black and white stat of the original art, and if you didn't have it, it was some comic where that art doesn't exist anymore. In some cases, they would hire people to trace over the lines in the old comics, and then so they could create and then that was never quite the same, and that was the way it was in some of those DC comics that reprinted Golden Age stuff, and I think in some of those early DC archives, they just hired people to trace over the original art. And that wasn't satisfactory. So Greg Theakston came up with a technique called Theakstonizing. This is in bad shape. And what he did is he took an old comic, he had to actually get a comic that might be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars and actually cut it apart. He would have to sacrifice an actual real comic to do this. And he would soak the pages somehow to bleach all the color out, leaving only the black lines. And then he was able to photograph that and create reprint editions. I like that artwork on the torch there. Probably Marie Severin. There's Spider-Man selling a Slurpee. Yeah, I know I have a better copy of this somewhere. But it isn't that one. Alright, here's another issue of the Micronauts. Wow. Cool artwork. Micronauts, the only way you can get these Micronauts comics is to actually buy old comics, because they can't reproduce, they can't reprint this or put them out in omnibus form. Even though I hated role-playing games, I always kind of liked this. It's cheesy, amateurish art, but I kind of liked this ad for whatever game that is. Anyway, Micronauts is a toy line, so Marvel can't reprint it because it doesn't really own this anymore. So that would mean that Marvel did a lot of toy comics. So Shogun Warriors, the Micronauts, whatever else. There's a lot of stuff that really can't be reprinted unless they get permission from the toy company who put out I think Mego might have had the American license to put out those Micronauts Japanese toys. This is something my friend Ryan was always talking about. Is he read these novels called Bill the Galactic Hero, and this is a comic adaptation of those novels that he used to think were so great. And I don't know. They might be great, but sometimes he would recommend things and they would be great, and sometimes they wouldn't be quite. This is reprints of the Spectre stories from the early 70s. Let's see, they were very gory. Michael Fleischer was the writer. Yeah, and Michael Fleischer had kind of a sick sense of humor, or a sick. He wrote the Jonah Hex stories and the Spectre stories, and at one point in the Comics Journal, Harlan Ellison referred to him as kind of a sick fuck, and he meant it in a complimentary way, like, wow, that guy's a sick fuck, I love his stuff. But Michael Fleischer took it very personally and didn't like that he'd been insulted, and that it might possibly cause him not to get work from Marvel because Jim Shooter saw. So they had it went to court, and they kayfabe on YouTube, that channel, they read through the transcripts of the trial, and one of them acted out Jim Shooter and one of them acted out the attorney, talking back and forth. Did this make you feel like maybe you shouldn't hire this guy, hearing that he's crazy? I assume that he must have had some trouble with at some point in his life with depression or something, and that he took it real personally when someone's calling him sick, and it wasn't meant that way. And anyway, so it went to court. I don't know how it was ultimately settled, but you might know, and you might tell me down below in the amazing comments section. And by the way, while you're at it, make sure you subscribe and click the bell and ring, whatever you got to do. But yeah, hit that little heart symbol that means like. And on Kayfabe's channel, they say, make sure you watch this video all the way to the end, because that will activate the YouTube algorithm that will recommend it to other people, but only if you go all the way to the end. And my wife also was telling me, not only do I need to linger longer on the comic books, because that's why people are watching, is to see the comic books, but she also told me I'm really not naming my videos very well. I just, the Grautour Love Show number 666. And, it's like, well, yeah, I need to have a more catchy title with buzzwords that will generate traffic. And I know that's true. Maybe I should have what it's about, and then put at the end the Grautour Love Show episode, whatever. I don't know. Who knows? It's not like I'm ever going to get rich on here, but boy, it would be great if I could. There are people that get rich, but I'm not interesting enough, and my comic collection's not that interesting. Like this. This is a variant edition of Avengers 11, but in Legacy, it would have been 701 if they hadn't fucked up and started the numbering over again. That's what it says on there. Hate that shit. Here's a graphic novel, Enemy Ace, War in Heaven. From 1914 to 1918, Hans von Hammer earned the nickname the Hammer of Hell in the blood-drenched skies of World War I. It's now 1942. World War II rages and blood is still falling from the sky. Russia has joined the battle against Hitler, and Hans von Hammer, the finest pilot Germany has ever known, is now a 46-year-old man with plenty of enemies in the Nazi regime. He wishes to live out his life within the solitary confines of his family estate in Bavaria, hoping against hope that he never has to step into the cockpit of a fighter plane again. That, of course, is not meant to be. So this is a sequel written by Garth Ennis to the classic World War I stories of Enemy Ace from the 60s and early 70s. And the artwork is very nice. So, Enemy Ace, War in Heaven. Action Comics Weekly. They started printing Action Comics Weekly there for a while, and it's interesting. So they have a Phantom Stranger story in here. What else is in here? Oh, Secret Six, Black Canary, Green Lantern, Black Hawk, and Nightwing. tells you down there. All right. See enough of that? Oh, cool. Shazam, the original Captain Marvel. This is the real Captain Marvel here. This is a not very good condition, but it's a 100-page issue number 14 of Shazam. So, oh, it's fucking destroyed. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I guess it could be pressed, but this was something I got from a Wounded Wonders pack. I'll try to see what I can do about that. Fuck. Marvel Comics presents. This is a number 98, and it flips over. It's a flip comic, and yeah, Marvel Comics Presents was kind of an experimental. I think they were trying out new artists. It was like a tryout comic, and it had Wolverine for years in this comic, and this is the comic where the Weapon X storyline appeared. Here's this was the, I think, the 25th anniversary. Yeah, Marvel's 25th anniversary. They had this border around the edge of the comics. Holy shit, what happened here? Damn. How about that? How about that? How about that one? Here's the Swamp Thing comic. Very artsy looking cover. It's 107. How about that? Yeah, it looks like a painting John Podesta would have on his wall. Smurfs number 1. Ooh, this book has been in bed. I'm just finding one of Shomogama. Yes, the Atari 2600. Yes, indeed. Wolverine number 97. I hated it when this time period where you had to look down at the UPC code to find out the issue number. And why do I own this? Let me figure out why I might have purchased this. I don't know, because the artwork's not horrible. This is a very slick comic, so I would imagine this is very modern. And can't even read the year on it. Anyway, not my time period. Here's a Marvel Team Up Annual. Spider-Man, the New Mutants, and Cloak and Dagger. Okay, I can get a cheeseburger at 11. They're not open yet. Anyway, priorities. Another copy of Marvel Comics Presents. Number 126, where Ghost Rider and these other characters, Iron Fist didn't have his own comic anymore. Wolverine, She-Hulk even was in here. You know, these people that had been orphaned didn't have their own comic anymore. They would get these tiny little 4 or 5 page long stories and here, and there's Iron Fist. See, this is where you got to turn it over and read it the other way. Marvel Comics presents. Yeah. These no, for that. These are starting to go up in value. These official handbook of the Marvel Universe deluxe edition. There was also a regular edition. You know, there was. They first came out like this, and it was just the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, and then they came out with the deluxe edition. So you'd have to buy them several times, and then they sold them other ways too. And it's basically like almost for people that play Dungeons and Dragons. It's like the character, you know how strong they are, their biography. It's here's the Eternals. See how much they look just like that in the movie, didn't they? Exactly like that. They would have wraparound covers. This one's not in very good shape, but it's just an encyclopedia of all the characters, you know, that you will encounter in Marvel Comics. It's really, it's kind of neat. It's a little page on Dragon Man. Here's the Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Guardians. They're, you know, all about their spaceship. You know, it's this is yeah, people are starting to seek these out. I mean, you can still find them super cheap. I mean, like mycomicshop.com, they're going up in value. You probably still can find them in your comic store for $1 or $2. I don't know. What do I know? There's this is number 13. That one was 15. But they're all running to something. And I don't know if, I think maybe they all fit together, you know, like they would stretch, you know, a whole block, you know, if you fit every issue together. I think they do. Well, let's see. Because here's 13, here's 14. Do they fit? Yeah, I think they do. Or do they? No. What? How does that work? Well, I maybe they do, because see that blue thing in the background, which is possibly Mr. Fantastic's arm. See how it continues to go across all of them. So maybe they fit together. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't have time for this shit, man. This is a pretty good cover. Even though it's a character that's been destroyed by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like the Eternals, Moon Knight is now, I think, you know, nobody cares about him anymore because they did such a bad job. Maybe they do. I'm just talking about, you know, how I imagine people think. Avengers West Coast number 100. One of these fancy 90s covers for, I call them covers for the blind, you know. It's all I can stand. I can't stand no more. There's more books. What if the X-Men, no, I'm sorry, what if the all-new, all-different X-Men had never existed? Yeah. What if? Imagine a world without Wolverine. I knew that world. I remember before Wolverine existed. That was before 5th grade. I remember before cell phones existed. Oh, look, John McCain. It's like, that's funny as hell. Uh, Presidential material, John McCain. uh, I'm going to take this to the rally tomorrow, and I'm going to take this up to Trump, and I'm going to say, would you sign this, please? I think he'll laugh because I know his sense of humor. You know, I was just talking with him last night on the phone. He was laughing even though his ex-wife passed away. But I think if I ask him to sign a John McCain comic, he'll be amused. Fantasy masterpieces with the Silver Surfer. This is this comic in the late 70s reprinted the night. This Silver Surfer comic from like 1968. They really, it's not a lot of words. It's not like the dense writing of the early Silver Age. It kind of looks like they were kind of rushing this, but anyway, it's fine. It's Stan Lee and John Buscema, and it's To Steal the Surfer's Soul. Anyway, this comic, Fantasy Masterpieces, well, Fantasy Masterpieces, the first volume of that, reprinted Golden Age stuff and all that in the 60s. But this is the second. They started the numbering over again in the late 70s to reprint the Silver Surfer of the late 60s. So they thought maybe it'll sell better now. And in the back of it, in the back of the Fantasy Masterpieces, they reprint a Warlock story. So incredible. Now, that's I'm sorry, but that's an embarrassing hairstyle for Wolverine. He's sitting there. The fuck. Okay. Well, that's supposed to be his forearm, but it looks like he's got a beer belly, because it's this artist. Oh, it's yeah, I see what it is. Sam Keith. He's like insane. He's a cool artist, but this is just a Hunter Biden in 5 years. There. And on the other side, it's the Ghost Rider. How about that? Incredible. All right. Oh, more of the Hanna-Barbera DC stuff. Future Quest. And then, while Marvel was doing the Marvel Universe Encyclopedia, DC was doing something similar. What the hell? DC's Who's Who. So, this is apparently still sealed. I'll just cut that open here in a minute. As I don't want to keep these old plastic bags. Here's Will Eisner's 3D classics. He's reprinting Spirit stories that were 3D. Let's see, what can I entertain you with? Oh, I've got a bunch of these, or at least a handful. This was a freebie comic that they gave you when you went to the movie theater to see the documentary Comic Book Confidential. And it was a film by Ron Mann. He also made that documentary about R. Crumb. Anyway, this is Just a souvenir that has a little bit about each artist that they cover in the movie. Each person. That's cool. William Gaines, L. Feldstein. Just a little. Yeah, it was It was a cool thing to have that playing in the. Well, I went over to the Inwood Theater in Dallas to see that. Looks like I've got 3 more copies of it. Here's interesting. This is called the Cosmic Book. That beautiful cover. It's got a one of these printing. I need to cut that. The pages were not cut right at the printer. But anyway, beautiful back cover. Yeah, it's cool stuff. Maybe it's an attempt to do a comic book sized heavy metal. It's got some good artists in it, like Alex Toth, or some of you seem to pronounce it Toth. I don't know how it's. I've always said Alex Toth. These are the artists that are in this. How about that? Shit, what the fuck? Oh, here's Superboy 196. More Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes 223. Here's 227. Here's Doctor Strange 21. I think I may have shown these books to you already in a previous episode. I'm getting confused. This is one of the great covers from Beyond the Unknown. He's saying, "Your patient is stark raving mad, Doctor. It is scientifically impossible that there could be a planet like Earth whose most famous leader is named Nixon." And here's a filthy, I'd sell you this one. Oh boy, put that over there. Here's a reprint of Iron Fist number 14, the first appearance of Sabretooth. Here's reprints, Warlock number 1. So they kept reprinting this stuff, and it's all very cool, experimental, young artist. Starlin. I saw an interview with Starlin on YouTube the other day. He's really excited about all these movies doing things with his characters. He's talking about Thanos. He created Thanos. Although Thanos really is very similar to Darkseid, or as a kid I pronounced it Dark Seed. I thought it was pronounced Dark Seed. It just seems like it sounds better as Dark Seed to me. It looks like it's written Dark Seed. Anyway, one of these 90s gimmicks to have these little cutaway covers, you know. It's whatever. Maybe somebody loves that. Whatever, dude. Here's Wrath of the Spectre #3. More reprints from the early 70s. I got tons. I think I've got multiple copies of a lot of that stuff because whenever I'd see it in the discount bins, I'd pick it up because it's so wonderful. Here's Richard Corbin doing the Hulk. I wish Corbin had done more Marvel stuff. It's just, I love Richard Corbin, one of my favorite artists of all time. Here's Corbin doing Hellboy. What a tremendous loss it was when he flew away. This is a mini-series, The Adventures of the Thing. I don't like the way they've drawn the Thing with the tiny little rocks. It just looks like he has a disease or something. It's Secrets of the Legion of Superheroes #1. Let's see what else I can show. Oh boy, what is this? Oh wow. King size giant spectacular. They're not kidding. This thing is thick. And it's wonderful. It's the Atomics. I like how they reprint past covers on the back. Yeah, this is great stuff. Here's an 80-page colossal issue of Radioactive Man. I file all these. Look how they made it just like the DC Silver Age at the top. I file all these Simpsons comics. I just file them under S for Simpsons. But that's cool. That's here's another issue of Radioactive Man. Oh, they even have fake ads. Yeah. So, yeah, Radioactive Man was Bart Simpson's favorite. Do they still have The Simpsons on TV? It was really great for about a decade. And then at some point, everybody, or at least me, just forgot about The Simpsons. It's like it just got watered down. And but at one time, it was something truly great. Here, it's a parody of the early 20th Cent era at Marvel when they had the picture frames. That's great. Here, here's one with go-go checks. Oh, look, I got an ad for the Itchy and Scratchy show. Here's 1984. It looks like they're trying to go for that Howard Chaykin. Actually, did Howard? It looks like maybe Howard Chaykin actually did the inks or drew it. That's why it looks like Howard Chaykin. American flag era. Yeah, so it's that kind of 80s. Everybody's in bra and panties, and yeah, they just went through all the different eras in superhero history and made it like Radioactive Man was there. Parody of Marvel superheroes, Bongo superheroes. These were comics I had to get. Man, I didn't know there were so many issues. Here's one that's the parody of the 52-page 25-cent comics that DC was doing around 1971, right before they went to 20 cents, which I consider to be the last gasp of the Silver Age. There's some good stuff in this box. Hellboy Jr. done to look like a Harvey. Hot stuff. That's so great. Oh, more Hellboy as done by Richard Corbin. And here's Comics in Review magazine, number 89, with a thing on the Rocketeer. Here's Valkyrie number. God. Valkyrie. Hold on. Here's this Neil Adams' finest moment, Mr. T and the T-Force. Poor Neil Adams. Why were you doing this? I don't know. Mr. T's a cool guy, I guess. It's just weird that he was doing this. Here's Mr. T, number 3. It's got a free trading card. How about that? I pity the fools that bought that comic. Okay. Mr. Monster. A great comic. This is issue number 2 with a Dave Stevens cover. Issue number 4. That's very 80s looking. I can't read the artist's name. Look at the bulge. Is that supposed to be a bulge there in his... Okay. Mr. Monster number... I can't see the number. Anyway, this was great stuff. And this Mr. Monster stuff was not. There comes the dog. Drew, this is not like, in case you're wondering, this is perfectly okay for kids to read, Mr. Monster. It's not done in like an underground comic or something. Alright. This is in 6D. More Mr. Monster. What's up, Drew, the dog? Maybe she wants to eat some grub. I should see if my wife is up. She might want to eat as well. at that. And then Mr. Monster would reprint old cool comics from the Golden Age. Mr. Monster would reprint true crime comics and cool old ads. Yeah, it was great. And then Mr. Monsters was constantly delivering entertainment. Mr. Monster's Schlock. Yeah, I need to feed the dog, man. Man, there was a lot of great shit that used to come out. Look at this Dark Horse, Tarzan meeting John Carter. I think I showed you that the other day. It looks like I might have multiple copies of some of this stuff. Here's Dark Horse doing Conan. So why is this guy dressed in modern clothes on a Conan cover? I guess I'll have to read that and find out. It's Conan number 3 from Dark Horse. This is after Marvel lost the license to Conan, or maybe they gave it up. I don't know exactly what the story was. There's Madman Adventures. It's a little ash can. That's what you call them. Well, let me get these bags cleaned up. I've been dropping all these hideous bags on the floor. Yeah, it's a hideous nightmare. Oh, wow. Sitting down too long, man. I think it might be time to start the day. Maybe we're going to go see, and it'll be the first time I've ever seen a demolition derby. I don't know how big time it's going to be, but I saw that there's a county fair going on, and they're supposed to have a demolition derby tonight. Maybe if you'd like me to record it and show it to you here on this channel, let me know down below. It'll also be a way I can see how many people actually watch this episode to the end, how many people actually tell me. So got lots of that's a magazine I remember getting when I was a kid in 6th grade. King of the Monsters. They thought King Kong was going to be a huge hit in this Christmas of '76, and so everybody was trying to cash in with little souvenir magazines. Okay, let's turn off the ring light, which has been illuminating me. And I also had this light on, giving me a little bit of light. Let's see. Okay, well, I got some books filed this morning. Okay. Oh shit. Just realized I need to do something here. So anyway, what are you guys doing on this fine Friday evening? I need to change the oil in the car. What do you think, Drew? Should we change the oil in the car? Well, I guess I'll see you guys soon. Take care.